Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Welcome to TCA. My name's Christian.
Good morning, I'm Andy. Good morning, Christian.
Good morning, Andy, and good morning, everyone. We are streaming live. We're on Facebook and YouTube this morning. We got the stream up at our on our laptops here, and so we'll be monitoring that. If you're joining us this morning, as always, give us a shout out. Let us know where you're watching from, who you are, and join the conversation.
We are back in North Carolina, but Christian, before we go any farther, I do have to, just in case my wife is watching, I have to say happy birthday. Happy birthday to my wife, Michelle.
Happy birthday, Michelle.
Hope you're having a great morning.
Yeah, there we go. A big birthday shout out to start TCA this morning. That is awesome. So again, we are live on Facebook, and it looks like we already have folks tuning in and watching us. So again, if you're watching us, give us a shout out. Let us know where you're watching from. And also, I'm going to say this a couple times throughout TCA this morning, Andy. If you haven't already subscribed to our YouTube channel, go over to YouTube, just search for Weinig Holz-Her USA on YouTube and check out our channel and make sure you press subscribe. All right.
That's how you're going to get the new videos on the tips from the tool room.
That's
and
right.
all of those nice informative videos that we're putting together.
That's right. That's right. And if you're watching us on Facebook this morning, that's awesome. We're glad that you're there on Facebook. I'm going to I'll post our YouTube channel link in the Facebook comments so everyone knows where to go. But make sure you subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have more and more content getting put up on our channel every week, Andy.
Every week, yeah.
Yep.
Every week. What did anything go up last week?
For Answers from the Tool Room, we got a great video up of Jordan.
Oh, nice.
Yep, cleaning out the router motor on our ProMaster, which is actually located right over there in our showroom. Just a great PM video on just how to keep that area of your CNC machine clean, and how to clean out your tools. And then, I didn't know this, but even more importantly, then how to log that maintenance in the controller of the CNC.
Great, yeah.
So that you can rely on the controller to tell you when to do it.
Just great information.
Yep.
I mean, we subscribe to the channel so you'll be alerted when those new videos get up there, and we're really trying to make that valuable information.
Yep, that's right.
So
All
last
right.
week, we're back in North Carolina. Last week
we are back in North Carolina.
Last week, if you saw us, we were a little bit late because we were on the West Coast. We were in a beautiful part of the country that I had not been to before, Santa Cruz, California, which was that was interesting. We were talking on the drive down Monday afternoon. It looked kind of like what we're used to here in North Carolina when you're driving through what we call the pass between North Carolina and Tennessee through the mountains. It looked just like that. It was lots of hills, lots of windy turns, lots of a concrete barrier very close to in our case, the minivan we were driving, but driving through the trees, and then you just come out and you're in this really cool little beach town, Santa Cruz.
Yeah, Santa Cruz,
right
California.
on the ocean. It was gorgeous, laid back. It was a really cool experience for me.
It was what you would imagine that Central California beach town being like. It was just laid back. It was just a great vibe. And then right in town, there's this industrial park, and then right in the industrial park, there's Elements Manufacturing, which we got the privilege, I would say, to just talk with them, spend some time with them.
Great company.
Great company.
Doing some great things. We learned, our industry
cool.
is great. How we've the last 12 months, we've all had to pivot. We've had to do new things. They had different challenges than maybe the rest of the country has faced because they were so tied into upfitting office space in Silicon Valley and in the tech hub of the country. They sent everybody home, and so what do? They pivoted. They got back into residential, and they're still thriving. They're doing some good stuff. They're making great, just gorgeous product.
Yeah, really nice product. And just a really neat process as well, how they've pivoted back into more residential work, and also what they call panel processing, or what some would call component manufacturing for other manufacturers.
Right.
Again, just finding that niche, or finding what they're good at.
So that's probably, you know, I've heard that in the past, that maybe we would go in that direction. Some of these, there'd be some larger companies that were producing component pieces for smaller cabinet companies.
Right.
But we really haven't seen that happen, and that's the first one that we've actually spent a little bit of time with that's doing that. They're making components for other manufacturers.
Sure.
And letting them, that way they can just use the equipment they've got, keep it busy, and supply it to those that maybe don't have the equipment.
Well, that's true. Or those that have maxed out their capacity.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, we know more than many, actually, Andy, that you know, it takes planning and it takes investment to up your capacity in a shop. So if your demand grows a whole lot, you know, in a short amount of time, you know, outsourcing may be the way to go.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that was a great story. Again, that was last week's TCA and shop tour. So if you guys haven't seen it yet, go back. It's on our YouTube channel. It's also on Facebook. You can probably find links to it on LinkedIn and many other social media platforms. It's actually all over the
Yeah, they
internet
had a
right
unique
now.
story.
So,
Dave and Christy did a good job of kind of
Yep.
telling the story of where they were, how they got into the business. We learned that they have pivoted. They've transitioned several times throughout their career there at Elements, and now they've just done it again.
yeah, yep, they sure have. And one neat thing was also getting to see, as Dave would say, we would be remiss if we didn't mention it, the Holz-Her machines in the shop.
Yeah.
It was great to see some Holz-Her machines being being worked.
Right.
I mean, they're running a panel saw in that shop all day, every day.
Yeah.
I mean,
I did have some comments that the machines weren't really running as much during the shop tour, and I do think that and Dave was a little concerned with it. I think we did hit them around break time. So.
That's our luck, right?
Yeah.
That's our luck to go do a shop tour on morning break.
Yeah.
No, so a great shop, some great Holz-Her machines, and they got some just really quality people over at Elements. Again, if you haven't watched it, that was last week on TCA, and man, like I said before, just couldn't be nicer folks. Couldn't be a cooler little beach town in California.
Yeah, a really cool town.
You know, yeah, you know what? That's manufacturing in the USA, man. You just never know what you're going to get. You never know where you're going to go.
We have a good morning from another beach town in California. Mr. Bodo in Long Beach is telling us good morning.
In Long Beach,
Yeah.
Good morning, Bodo.
And Chris Sauer from D.C. So we've got both sides of the country covered this morning.
That's right. Thanks
Long
for
Beach to
tuning
DC.
in, guys. Thanks for tuning in. Awesome.
So tell us a little bit about, so Christian and I split up Tuesday after the TCA.
Yeah.
And he went to see a couple of shops in the Bay Area, and I went a little farther north. I did end up seeing a shop right in San Francisco. That was interesting to see a lumber producer right in the city in San Francisco late in the week. But I was up. I got to spend a little more time maybe in the wine country part of the state. Also a beautiful, really just a gorgeous part of the country.
Absolutely.
But so what about some of the shops that you went to see?
Yeah, so I think that, going around to predominantly panel processing shops in that area, there were, a few takeaways from me, Andy. The first one was that any shop that was well established in the residential casework industry was just slammed with business. Yeah. This would be like your closet shops, your home organization systems, your garage cabinets, and then obviously your kitchens and baths.
Right.
Those shops were full of business. They were staying busy, and they were investing in their shops. So that was, I don't want to say that was obvious, but it was good to see that it wasn't like there was a pocket that wasn't experiencing this residential boom that we're experiencing over here in the East as well. Right. So obviously, so that was a great thing. Got to see that. The other thing that I got to see, Andy, that I thought was a bit eye-opening was the need not just for automation, but, and we've talked about automation a lot, but I'm telling you, every shop I went to, they were up in their game in quality. Okay. It was the quality of the parts. They were continually up in their game in quality. The quality of their materials, of the sheet goods that they're ordering, and then the quality of the machining that those goods then require. Now, and this, I don't want to say I've never thought about it. I've never thought about it this way. But when you think about it, when you're a shop and you say, okay, we're going to up our quality, so we're going to buy more quality raw materials, well, you also then have to up your quality everywhere else, don't you? Because your quality is only as good as your weakest link, right? As the lowest quality process that your shop has. So if you are getting, if you're getting poor quality joints on your edge bander, but you up your sheet quality, well, you still have low quality joints, right? So, and it was interesting seeing how I think that you have a lot of manufacturing happening right now. People are trying to find that competitive advantage, and now quality is raising up to be that competitive advantage. Well, now it's a matter of, well, we have to raise our quality everywhere, not just materials, not just machining, but everywhere at the same time.
People, right? So we were just talking about this earlier.
Right.
So it's interesting. Christian spent some time in some panel processing shops. I spent more time with some of the larger millwork producers, lumber producers that are selling, doing higher volume, selling to some of the big box stores. Many of them, one of them I met with had just had his meetings with three of the three big box stores on the lumber side.
Sure.
And the same thing. So they're upping the quality. They have, you know, we've talked about this before. A lot of the larger companies have struggled a little bit with labor. And it was before any talk of wage increases or anything like that. So we'll just take that, put that aside.
Table that, right?
We'll table that because that's not really what they were discussing. Because especially in California, they've had the higher minimum wage, for example. They've had that in place for years. But the interesting thing was that they are now looking to automate for a lot of the reasons that we've talked about, taking the non-value added processes. And now they can still add quality to those processes, but now they're not putting people at it. But what that's done is that's allowing for them to hire and put more money into the people that are running the operation. The quality goes up everywhere, right? So you're hiring, you need more qualified, you need higher quality people in your organization too. So that goes right back to what we've talked about with education in our industry. We've got to have, if you're interested in being in our industry, spend some time, find out locally where you can get up to speed in manufacturing in general, because our industry, the woodworking, the wood processing industry, needs people that understand manufacturing. They need the good people, and those are not minimum wage jobs. Those are good, high-paying jobs.
Absolutely they are, and we're not, and that's not, we're not talking about the woodworking shop of the past where you have, you know, where you hire somebody that you hope shows up, you know, 3 days a week to just to push wood through a shaper. We're talking about people who understand process flow, who can program machines, who can program the programs that talk between machines, that can actually manage the process through your shop. I mean, these are, like you said, these are not low-paying jobs at all. This is the future of our industry.
I read last week that well, I'll be clear. In this case, it was an audiobook, so I wasn't really reading. I listened to last week that that our main competitive advantage that we have in business is our organizational efficiencies. So how do we do that? We have to get people that are trained in being more efficient in manufacturing. So this is not like, I mean, this is not unlike, not unlike aerospace, not unlike automotive, anything else where they're chasing efficiencies. Now in the wood industry, there are huge efficiency gains to be had.
Yes.
You know, in the automotive industry, they're looking for 0.1% of an efficiency in different places. Woodworking, there are a lot larger gains. You can have a much larger impact when you have those thoughts of how you can be more efficient. So that's a huge thing. You know, if somebody's looking to get into manufacturing, look at the wood industry.
Absolutely. So so that was just some notes about our travels last week. And I also want to just point out for folks that are watching us online, if you would, if you're a manufacturer and you'd be open for a live shop tour and being on TCA at your location, reach out to us. Let us know. We're always up for traveling, up for going to different places and just seeing what the manufacturing environment in different regions of the U.S. is like, and then being able to post about that on social media so that everyone can learn. So that
last week for me, it made me want to do it more.
Yeah.
Right. It was a good week. We saw a lot of good people. I love this industry, and it was just reinforced that last week.
So make Andy happy, and let us know, if you want to be on TCA or if you want a shop tour. And again, we're live here on Facebook and YouTube. Also want to give a shout out to Mr. Mike Sigmund, who's watching us on Facebook this morning.
Somewhere
Good morning,
in
Mike.
That direction.
Yeah. So that's great. Again, also, if you're watching us on Facebook and you haven't yet done so, subscribe to our YouTube channel. Just hop on over to YouTube and search out Weinig Holz-Her USA and hit that little subscribe button. We come out with new video content every week, and not just TCA, as cool as that is, but we come out with how-to videos, machine overviews, different kinds of interviews and discussions, etc. So a lot of cool stuff going on at Weinig as far as video content goes.
How about some industry news from outside sources?
Sure.
We talked a little bit about
what you got, Andy?
Yeah, we talked some about what's happening locally with the shops that we saw last week, so we continue to get an understanding of the industry as a whole, but also specifically the different regions. But a couple weeks ago, I talked to you about the website that I found was Kiplinger, which is they just examine trends that are driving GDP. So it's not specific to our industry at all. They just look at the GDP in the U.S. and they try to figure out what's driving it, up or down. And they've been putting a lot of stuff up about housing, and because that's driving the GDP in the U.S. And so interesting, they said that this is mostly, I did pull this last week, but late last week, and they were discussing primarily January. And so January, they were saying that starts overall are down. But
new housing starts
are down.
Okay.
And that was multifamily. Multifamily was up. So the single family was down. Multifamily is up. I mean, if you've been driving through Mooresville, for example, there are apartments going up everywhere.
Everywhere, yeah.
But the single family starts are down. But they are still up from January 2020. So overall, we're up. We're just down as compared to December. And we talked a little bit about that. I wonder if the weather is having an impact, because this has been a strange year for weather. In the East Coast, we've been incredibly wet. So I know that all of the starts, all of the places where they cleared off the land, it just has set. They haven't been able to do anything to it because it's so muddy.
Right.
They can't get in. And then, over the last few weeks, then the south central part of the U.S., down in Texas, they've had what they've had there in Texas and Oklahoma. Arkansas, I heard a few weeks ago that in the mountains in northern Arkansas, that it got down to -20 degrees Fahrenheit, which was the actual temperature, not wind chill, but it was actually -20. So we're having an interesting cycle of weather. And I wonder if that's having an effect on it, because the other side of it is that existing home sales are up in January. They were up over December even. Okay. And we had talked about how the inventory was so low that existing homes were going down, and now people were getting on waiting lists to get with builders to get to start a new home. Now existing home sales have gone up, and locally, they've gone up. I don't know that the inventory necessarily is bigger, but people are buying more and they're paying over. You're getting in bidding wars and things like that around here, because if you can't start a home, you're ready to upgrade your house, get a little more space.
It's all about upgrades right now.
Yeah, it's upgrading, and people are paying a premium for those homes. So if you ever thought about selling your home, it might be a good time. But yeah, so we will continue to monitor that, but it continues to bode well for our industry, because while January was down from December, it's still up from last January. And last January we were off to what we thought was a normal year. It wasn't until we got into late February, March that we started to really get a little concerned. So we're still higher than what we started last year.
Yeah. So this is something that we continue to look at and bring you guys news on. I know that in the last 6 months, I mean, it's just been up and up and up, right, Andy? I mean, as far as construction and the residential market goes. So so we keep, I don't want to say we keep saying the same thing. We keep bringing you new, fresh information, but it's all pointing the same direction.
Same direction. I mean, we're pulling it from news sources. The latest from Kiplinger is not something that's tied to our industry. That's just looking at trends that are driving GDP.
That's right. So Yeah. So again, it goes back to all this up and up and up trajectory in our industry leads to companies investing in people, investing in equipment, investing in materials, upping their game to get that competitive advantage.
Yep.
One thing that I did think about when I was out in California last week is I went to some shops, Andy, and you might be able to relate. Maybe you've gone to some shops like this as well, but I went to some shops that were just slammed full of work, right? I mean, like material and jobs everywhere on their floor. Like just the whole place is just stacked up with whip and just they're just slammed, right? And they said, man, we are just so busy right now. We could not be happier. We're just slammed, and this is great, and we're just trucking away. And I went to other shops that were equally as busy, but they said, man, we are slammed right now, and we need to invest. This is the time to actually add capacity. This is the time to grow, because things always change. And one thing that we all learned when we had the downturn back in '08 is that when things are changing, in that case it was changing poorly, right? But when things are changing, that's when you need to change as well.
Right.
That's not when you ride it out. That's when you adapt. That's when you grow. That's when you invest. And I think that on the downside and on the upside, both times, for shops to take inventory of their processes, take inventory of their equipment, and figure out how are we going to grow our business into the future. There's shops out there that are satisfied with the amount of business that they have right now. That's fine, but there are also shops out there, and I hope this is one of you guys, that want to get bigger, that actually look at this as potential to grow that company.
Yeah, and get bigger is relative, right? I mean,
absolutely.
You could.
Absolutely.
It doesn't mean you need a bigger building. You can automate. You can get more product through the same amount of space.
Yeah, and that maybe the poor choice of terms, but grow your business, however whatever meaning that is for you. One thing I did want to do, and a quick shout out to all the small shops watching. Shout out to you guys, all the small shops watching, saying, yeah, I want to grow my business, but that doesn't mean getting into a bigger building or even adding more employees. It means upping my game with equipment, adding more automation so I can actually do more selling and more marketing instead of more manufacturing. And that's important as well. So
small business drives our country, drives our economy.
Absolutely.
And we are fortunate to be in a position where at least 85% of our customers are small business, and we love helping you guys do what you do.
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. So yeah, big shout out to all the small cabinet shops out there. Small only in the number of people mainly. Not small-minded, not small anything else. You guys are running.
Well, I think
this
the banks
industry.
would define small business as doing less than 10 million in revenue. So that's a big part of what we cater to, right?
Absolutely. So a couple comments here in the feed, Andy. So Mr. Chris Sauer brings up that weather has slowed up projects, that we're facing that, right? So as Andy was saying, that is starting to show show the results of that in the market. And people are playing catch up. Absolutely. I remember, and we were talking about this earlier this morning, I remember maybe 5 or 6 years ago, we had an extremely wet winter up in New England, and it was just really tough to get timber out of that area. And it really affects it just affects everything. It affects that supply chain. We hope that, just because of everything that's going on, we will play catch up, and we'll get back to a steady supply of timber and a steady supply of materials as 2021 continues.
Shout out to some more people, and I apologize if I'm going to pronounce these names incorrectly, but Chung Dang, I'm not sure what you're watching from. When I hovered over your name, it said that you're also friends with Patrick Pua, and so I think he's in Singapore. So I'm guessing that Mr. Dang must be somewhere in Asia. And then Kareem says good morning, and I'm not sure where he's coming to us from. So appreciate you guys watching.
Yeah.
Wherever you are.
Absolutely. So that's going to do it for us this morning for TCA here at Weinig Holz-Her USA. Again, just go over to YouTube, subscribe to our channel. I think we're 1 subscriber short of 450 right now, so that's exciting. So go over to YouTube, subscribe to the channel. We got new video content coming out all the time. In fact, on Thursday, we release our newest Answers from the Tool Room series video. I'm not going to tell you what it is. You'll have to just wait.
Don't ruin the surprise.
That's right. And make sure you go back and watch the live streams from last week when we were at Elements. Like what we said, great live streams, great discussion about the industry, and just a fantastic shop tour. Yep. All right, Andy. Well, I think that's going to do it for us this week.
That sounds like enough to me.
All right. Great. Thanks, everyone, for watching. We'll see you next week on TCA.
Have a great week.